that whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me here today. I will be talking about Illumined Union and the fact whether we are truly illumined. So I've been taking some time to really be with myself and to go through this next cycle, this next layer of my unfoldment that I'm currently going through and embodying, and it's been quite a journey. It's been a more inwardly based reality for me at this time. So I haven't been as active in the physical life in terms of participating and sharing. So, it's just how these things go when you are working with profound levels of self-mastery, because you're being invited each time to turn inward to receive new inklings of where you're truly moving forward next, because this is not a linear journey. Whether we understand this or not, the linear journey is not actually the direct journey through which we think, okay, it goes like a straight line, which means it's going to be faster for us to be where we want to be. This is ego. In truth, it's a longer phase, because the spiral journey acts as a vortex of energy. It acts as a gateway to enter this timeless state where time is always just this concept that unfolds around us, but working with profound levels of inner illumination, we're truly working at the timeless levels of reality. And they always show up for us in the most mundane physical lives, in terms of scenario situations that reflect to us what still needs to be worked at. So I haven't talked about Illumined Union a lot recently, but I have made on my Patreon page, which is my beautiful team of light who are my fellow devotees for the journey of physical ascension. I have made a beloved reading. It was sort of a walkthrough journey and the message of the cosmic beloved at this time for this year. And of course, there's this timelessness about it as well, as always with my videos, because they're meant to be sparkles, jewels of wisdom that's eternal, not just that passes. One day you're with this energy, the next day you're moving into somewhere else. This is not truly how the journey of ascension devotees devotion truly looks like. Wow, yeah, it's quite a journey. So today I want to share something that has recently been coming up, because each time I withdraw, when I retreat, I receive, which means I receive new information, and I'm doing more channel meditations than ever before, because I'm moving with more. It's like the journey where I've been, for me personally, how my soul has consciously navigated this ascension pathway as a spirit guide. It has led me from, moving upwards, and then I went downwards. And then I had to reach the lowest point of density, so to create this spring off of metamorphosis journey, which, it's difficult to explain, because in a way it is something that I'm experiencing myself just for me. And yet there's elements, components of it that I can share with you, because this is what I do. I talk about the journey of physical ascension through illumination. I don't talk about kind of like the things that are nowadays so popular, that people spend most of their time or giving of their intention to these things and half-truths, and a lot of it is still very much confusion, which is based on non-integrated personality. So I'm going to be talking about this at the last part of the video, whether we're truly illumined or not, and what does this really mean for us personally. But I want to begin with the subject of Illumined Union, to kind of expand upon this topic, because today I somehow stumbled upon this video. It was a very spontaneous channel message that someone was sharing, and it really touched me profoundly, because it was such a resonance with my own path and what this person was sharing. And then, of course, as always, I meditated upon it, because when we meditate, we expand that, when someone shares something, we want to make it our own. We want to create our own circle around it, that the information that they receive and the way they interpret it is through their awareness. We kind of translate into the awareness of our soul and when we are at. So this is what an integral sovereign being does. We're not kind of taking the message, taking it directly without any contemplation, without any self-analysis and reflection, because this is what the journey of illumination truly requires. And this is one of the most intense and truthful reasons why I also am withdrawing more than I've done in the past, because it has kind of been a journey that I was guided through spirit to set this foundation of this work, of this sharing, particularly regarding volunteer souls and what's that mission like. And it can not be compared with the journey of upward moving ascension, because primarily the journey of volunteer souls is a downward spiral of ascension. And through this visual I will take you through, which is also, I did a channel drawing about this, actually a few of them. I'm going to walk you through what this journey means, and it will also be about these powerhouses, pillars of light, and power couples, which a lot of people use these terms very loosely, as well as people use the words twin flames, soul contracts, agreements. All of these things nowadays, I'm noticing people are using it quite loosely without having a proper understanding on the spiritual basis, which is metaphysical. It is based on realms of truth, realms of illumination, how I call it, and how basically they're called on their own. It's like not something I've conjured up. So the first thing I want to move into is re-expand this concept that I see still there's so much half understanding of this, what it truly is. Because when you look at the very foundation of what illumination is, right, it's a being that truly knows itself at the core level. And let's face it, the majority of our populace of humanity on earth is not there even halfway through. So now you have so much content out there that promotes these unions of people coming together, and one of them is doing one part, the other then is doing the other part, and somehow they're meant to come together in this work of integration of the self. But a lot of that which is shared through that, which is given, is still false from a perspective of wholeness, because it's given partially. The core understanding is missing, and I don't see a lot of people talking about this, because I talk about, again, as I've shared with you so many times before, I talk about the Illumined Union platform and template. I don't talk about a union when a being, sees someone as their mirror and they use all of their energy to project that idea, that thought, into the material reality. And all they think about is, they have this agenda. If they do this work, then they will somehow end up with this person. The true twin flame for me is the twin soul concept is not based on two halves of one whole. It's not based on halves at all. It's one whole. It's one completely self-governing being, an identity of the sovereign spirit within that is fully self-governed, regulated, and discerning being. So you have a full validity of your own inner integrity that is your first and innermost devotion, your pull. So you don't have an agenda. You don't do inner work in order to get there or to be with someone. There is a complete benevolence about this journey, that the focus and the purity of it is primarily is this devotion, this focus is your illumination. So when your illumination becomes that ultimate goal for you, which it's what the illumined ones or the masters have always been saying. They said your only prayer should be for your enlightenment, not God, divine, give me or grant me this and that, give me this wish and that. Because through our will, when we impose our will upon the will of the divine, we can create a lot of projecting energies that eventually, in a cycle of growth, they will return to us, because we still have to value them. We have to see what they were, what we've created with these lower thought projections, how they come as boomerangs, not to punish us or to enslave us or, indoctrinate us in any way, but simply to show us what the power of will, when not used in illumination, can do. And this is what the most of humanity, as you know, is learning. So the Illumined Union concept of the twin soul is basically cannot even be applied to someone who has not yet experienced themselves at the core or illumined level, because they do not know how to serve life from the sacred fire. They have not yet been what it was referenced in many scriptures, the holy scriptures before, as purified by the holy or the sacred fire. This is the initiation of the Holy Spirit, which means we have become a pure vessel for the divine. We understand that divine is truly our employer. We are conduits. We are beautiful children of the divine that will somehow conjure up together with others, with fellowship, with the sacred devotion committee, in a way that has this pathway, that has this only one aim that's left. And it's the aim of illumination, not just for the self, but the overlighting experience of all who are actually moving towards there, which is basically all souls, because they all have within them this inherent program of spiraling trajectory called the Ascension timeline, or Ascension unified reality or truth. Because Ascension is not just a timeline. I've shared this before, and I have a Ascension synthesis course on my Patreon page for those of you who are at the advanced level of taking my content in, about the Ascension synthesis, that, you know, it explains how Ascension is not just another timeline you just joined, but it's an overall journey of synthesis, which somehow completes itself through a complete understanding of the self, all the reverberations of all the selves you've ever participated with, learned, you know, through, so that your soul can know growth. It knows itself as the infinite, as well as just that spark, which is eternal, which is the great omnipresent I am within. So in this illumined concept, as you know, this is not an idea. This is not an imposed or self-governed ideology. I have this idea about, you know, this is this, which is what a lot of the people, like I'm saying, they're using very loosely these terms. So I'm very careful with these words, because they're being projected so commonly and they're not used properly within their level of understanding mastery. So the way my Illumined team is showing me Illumined Union and the real concept of twin soul is that when a being becomes purified by the sacred holy fire, when it resurrects within its own state of divine perfection, which is simply an idea, the seed of love becomes whole in itself. You become a full blossoming of realization of love, which is the self-realization journey. As you know, everything, all of the knowledge you can accumulate, eventually, you know, you will come to a point, like many great alchemists also did, when the component that's missing that prevents you from having that final realization and that epiphany, you know, that will become the epitome of your studies or whatever, is love, is understanding the metaphysical reality through love, and how love governs all principles of creation. So when a being becomes self-realized, the being is whole until themselves. But because of the nature of the soul, as you know, at the earthly level, the majority of relationships is still karmic based, because they're learning how to know the self-projected ideas of themselves and the reality through how this energy returns as projected through another. And in most cases, I've explained in many of my past long gone videos about different stages of relationships, which are, you know, physical based, and you have transitory soul mate or soul communion relationships, and then you have spirit based relationships or service oriented. And this, for me, is the only level that, you know, the twin soul name, if we can even call it like this, can truly be applied, because it inherently has the understanding of creation and divine service in full capacity. It's not a projection, it's not an idea or an ideology, but it's a full-blown truth. It's a fact of creation and how creation expands. So the soul always kind of, you know, is like, there's always communion. There's a natural tendency to grow through coming together or merging with other parts of creation. You know, like even galaxies are kind of like sliding together, being guided or pulled towards each other, like our own Milky Way galaxy with the great Andromedan galaxy, which are supposed to merge, I don't know how many billion years, 4 billion or something. That's our own estimation at this point. So there's always the sense of coupling and coming together, right? So at the most basic level of learning, when we're learning the lessons of who we even are, reaching the goal towards manifesting our true nature of soul and body, is this projection, which has a karmic tendency within it. Then the secondary form, as you know, is a soul mate. It's like the one who assists the journey of this transitory level. And in the New Year video, I talk about living in 3 different worlds. So for me, the highest, the spirit-based foundation of a coupling, of a formation coming together, is that which there is a complete understanding of unity, of union, and illumination. So that's why for me, the term twin soul can only be applied at the spirit level. And when people believe there's a split of one soul, they have a very huge database misinterpretation here, because there is never a split. The soul cannot split. The soul is already, it's like it exists within a conglomerate of a greater essence, which is the oversoul. So what we somehow feel under this is like there's an impression that there's a part of you that's missing, you found in another. And then people start calling this, there's the other half of me. And they start using this word now, twin flame, as an expression of the lack of the awareness of the inner wholeness and completion of everything you are. You are completely divine, and everything about you is divine. So in this transitory, the soulmate experience is like where a lot of the healing or the light work community is currently based at, and it's kind of like they're tuning into that tapestry of life, and that's how they're experiencing life. However, there's a very strong foundation that Spirit gives me for it, the true meaning and the blessing and the power that comes with the union at the twin soul level, which is basically how they're showing me. It's like when you become purified and you become this cosmic servant of life, you're naturally pulling together your divine counterpart, which is a being that has somehow, in their own trajectory of the soul experience, they have accumulated somehow a very similar resonant essence. So when we talk about being born of the same soul, in a way, looking at it from the divine perspective, right? It's all just one being, right? So from that perspective of unity, the feeling is cosmic, and you can have that and you can feel that within every being. However, the being that my Illumined Council truly calls the illumined twin soul experience is a being who has gathered the same light quotient as you have, perhaps from maybe sometimes from a different angle of experience. So you're somehow complementary, you're not identical, but there is this harmonious understanding in which you are simply a foundation, a pillar, in which your energies amplify. It's like you're a powerhouse, they're a powerhouse. And for me, that is what the power couple means. You know, people use now, again, this term so loosely. Everyone now who comes together and is focused on light work or something is now a power couple. A power couple has to deal with a very strong energy understanding of what ascension is at its root level, understanding the dynamics of the metaphysical and physical components of what we call ascension in its multidimensional scope, not just linear perspective of it. So this is a spiral journey. So today I've seen this video from someone. It was a reading, it was a channel information. It was so resonant because what the person was actually saying is that there was this scenario channeled of two people, two beings coming together, and their energy, right? They're meeting at the kind of like she was showing, like they're meeting at their highest peak point, and they're each such strong individuals, but when they come together, their light is so strong and the energy they're emanating is so strong that it becomes a threat to the system or the powers that be, or just the collective energies of this planet that are somehow not ready or prepared for this amount of intensity of the energies working their way through, first through the individuals and then together as a group, as a coupling formation. So she was saying that up until this point, you had this feeling of, you know, everything goes against you and it's attacks and fights, and somehow you can't move into this union, and yet you're always fighting for this union, and you're so committed and so in it, right? And she was also using this, I think it was a beautiful analogy when she said, you two, when you come together, you don't need other people, you don't need the world, you don't need external things, because you could live in a deserted island and just be one with each other, right? The message was really specific, and I really loved the message. However, I sat down today and I asked, okay, my team, does that message apply to me? Because I really felt a strong calling. I felt this resonance. My journey has been exactly like this. It was this feeling of moving through density and density. It's just like each time you move through a new level, it's just like, it just withdraws what you believe is like your destination even more. And it's like, it's non-reachable, right? That is how sometimes it feels like when the human experiences this. So I went on to meditate, and the guidance was right off the bat, it was so straightforward. And they said yes and no, because they said that message still didn't have the full understanding that's beyond duality, like energies working against you coming together, lower energies, people even call them entities, whatever, right? They're working against people with such powerhouse energy coming together. And those of you who perhaps are on the energy wave of moving into becoming a part of the understanding of what Illumined Union is, and then moving with your soul awareness, and then of course your physical path being kind of like pushed there because you feel that's where you are. And I have a whole video on the Atlantean experiment as the Illumined Union experiment, and how now it's almost like a third wave is happening now, and how these essences have now strong potency to come together at such an intense level. I also have an illumined avatars of Illumined Union Gateway audio channeling on my page at the Beloved section. You can just follow the link there on my page, Serapina Light. But they were actually showing me that all this, what we sometimes experience, those of you in this path, you feel like you're moving with density and it just keeps pushing more forward. And it's like you believe, okay, I will physically meet someone like this who will be the epitome of my growth, who will be my direct counterpart. And that degree of knowing and everything I've embodied. But why sometimes I feel like it's just moving further and further along the way, and the timing never comes. So it's not about the timing, as you know. This is a spiraling journey. It's not a linear, because a linear perspective is actually a longer one. Because we don't go like this. We have to move as a spiral, which means we have to align with our inner gateway. We have to do the work. A lot of people, what I'm noticing, they're not doing the work. There's a huge light worker, new age community, which are kind of like drifting somewhere along, and everyone is trying to be the light worker, the figure, maybe a public person, speaker. But so many of them, they have unhealed issues that now, with this rising of this intense light, they're coming strongly to the surface, and they can cope with that because the determination hasn't really been, the focus hasn't been on doing this work, full unification. This is a illumined journey. It's not, I'm here to help everyone else and others. This is my path as a light worker. There's a lot of projection energy there still. It's a lot of illusion that keeps you in the same trajectory, and you're spinning. You're not actually moving with the spiral. Okay, so I made this channel drawing, which will now further explain what I'm going to tell you about this. Okay, so the guidance was very specific, and the guidance said that this path, when there's beings who are here, and again, this was very specific for beings who are coming here as a descent of the divine into matter in order to reshape alchemically, doing their own soul alchemy through the spirit initiations. They're here to transfigure this reality only by being. And they said this is not a resistance of these energies that somehow push against it because they don't want this outcome, right? Because they have an agenda to do so. You know, it's almost like if you met someone and they were mean to you, their sole intention primarily was not, I want to be mean to this person. They somehow responded to your energy like this, and indirectly it might have led to a scenario when they did something was hurtful. And of course, they really badly hurt themselves in the process. So if you did your own healing, you were not truly affected by that unless you were triggered or catalyzed into a journey of more soul alchemy and embodiment. So they were showing me that this, what the woman was saying in that message was this, like, it was explained as resistance, right? So they're not allowing for this union to occur because it's so powerful. And it was supposed to be two beings meeting at their peak experience at a pivotal point. It's actually what they're showing me is they have to bring this peak experience to the descent, to the realm of the highest density. So you basically, this journey of the descent, this overlighting experience of light moving into matter through illumination, it means like you're always this being of this integrity which you have already accomplished. So at the spirit level, you have been purified, you have been initiated with the sacred fire, you are a servant of Holy Spirit. However, when you come into matter, you choose to voluntarily, which means consciously through your soul, project elements of you that need to do this work as your energy travels downwards. I'm going to show you a channel drawing as well. But they were simply showing me that this resistance that was described as energies not allowing you to either be together, right, is not something that's fatal, right? Or dark versus light, right? Love maybe wins in the end, maybe doesn't. Okay, what's true, what's not? People get confused a lot. But without the proper understanding of soul alchemy that this Illumined Union truly has as a divine purpose here on the planet, there's zero. there's not going to be a fulfillment of that. So they're showing me this resistance is only a natural process or a byproduct. It's like you bring a very high energy to a very strong density, right? Naturally you get this resistance because it's moving through, right? It's creating this breakthrough. It moves through the energy, which is the complete dissolution I talked about this, not the solstice, sorry, the eclipse point about the dissolution energy, which is now really moving through us through the non-resistance, to complete embracing. Because someone just today said something to me like, oh, please project to me some of this and that. And I said, I don't project. That's not benevolent. I simply embrace. We embrace with love. So they were showing me the purpose of these powerhouses, power couples, like, pillars of light. It doesn't matter, right? It's two beings purified within their sacred fire. But when there's a descent in the matter, they have to basically travel to the lowest point of manifestation of density. I'm not talking about scenarios. Scenarios, physical experiences, are just a projection of that. It's a externalization. But in terms of meeting energy where it is, right? When this light travels, this lightness, there's going to be resistance. This is simply a natural occurrence. This is not because there's entities, energies, powers that be that work against you. This is because you have chosen to meet all these aspects of creation in order for there to be union. And for me, this is the only true twin soul union as Illumined Union, is when this light and shadow, it's like in a physical level, in physical form, complex, right? This structure we know ourselves to be in these bodies that are both, they're physics, their chemistry, and their biology, right? They're all of that. So when through our physical makeup this light moves, I call this the descent. This is the descent of the soul. So the soul moves and it has to reach the lowest point. So when I went through this, and it probably is, for me, this whole year 2018 was a shadow year. I made another video, I'm going to share it after this one, about the declaration of love and the light shadow cycles. I explain more about this. And this is needed. This is not because of the karma, the descent of the divine. So these are beings who already have been purified. They have moved through many experiences. They have become servants to life, which means they don't come here. This is not karmic. The density they experience is not because they're being punished or something works against you. This is because it was a naturally pre-chosen program. It's an experiment of love that wants to move this light forth, and this light seeds. So in the video, the woman was also saying that your energies, right, when you are together, even it's like it doesn't have to be physical together, but you're both here simultaneously as powerhouses, whether you met each other or not, it doesn't matter, but you're doing this work together. And this means that your alchemy of the soul, which you're doing separately and as well together, is creating the seedling. And I've talked about the seeding, creating and birthing these seeds. So like the seeds were planted through the avatars of Illumined Union at the previous stage, now they're becoming more of a manifest reality. They're becoming more tangible at the beginning stages, which we're moving now in this day and age. So what they were showing me is, it's like there's this great embracing of this, knowing that this is a conscious descent, because you might have elements when you think this is not fair. Why do I have to go through this? This is not fair. And again, this doesn't include the karmic perspective, which also it coexists. It really depends where you are from the evolutionary experience of your soul. So the pitfalls of this journey is people watch a video, they immediately say, I resonate with this because I want to be there. So they immediately project that reality into their own world, but you somehow can't fit it in. These are not concepts you can fit in as belief systems. The truth either is or it isn't. It is what it is. So when you are actually experiencing this, it's your own spirit that will within, right? That will continuously push you forward and creates the strength and the stamina to move you through this journey. So you will know, because you're actually the one experiencing this. And this is the reason why I can channel this and share this with you, because I'm literally going through this. And my entire body experienced such change. I told you here in the back, I lost most of my hair. And it's been so intense for my body, this descent, because I was not used to this. I wasn't used to this density, and it was a very harsh experiment for me. But my family of light, they keep telling me, we trust in you. We know, we are 100% sure you are going to do it. And there was elements of me, I have to tell you, that said, no, I will not do it. This is too intense. I'm just going to quit. And there was so much, and noise, and this, and that. And all of that is, you have to vibrationally meet this level of density. You have to come to the lowest point of materialization that exists at this point. This is what the descent of the light does. It consciously moves into matter from the perspective of descent. This is not you incarnate for the purposes of learning. However, there's huge learning there involved for you, because when you do that, you're becoming more and more of a vibrational alchemist that, you know, you were maybe before you utilized your nature of divine service in conscious embodiment into matter. Once you already transcended it, it's voluntarily. So they were showing me how this is a must work. And when each of those does that separately, all they're doing is basically dissolving the energy. So when they do the work, they somehow will come to a point of non-resistance, because the energy, what you believe attacks you, works against you when you come to a point of union within. And this is not when people say, I'm in union with this person. No, no, no. You are in union with life, with spirit. That's true. That's Illumined Union. When you're truly in union. I know a lot of people say I'm in union. Even I will not claim for myself that I'm in full union, because there's elements within me in this body that still feel like we have to push through. We have to fight for us to truly be liberated and free as we are. It's like that I can be in my natural vortex formation in the physical. So when there's people telling you I'm in union, you know, you are experiencing a level of wave of union. But the ultimate union is, I've shared with you this before, it's Illumined Union. This is the union where nothing works ever against you. There's no more separation. There's no duality. And there's elements of the body when we incorporate it, we inherit even, that still play this, and they're having difficulty and they're resisting this process. When this high energy meets this, right, this descent journey creates this, and there's an automatic ascent and descent at the same time, because the energy that's dense loosens up and it moves back into the light. That's why this is somehow dangerous, right, from the perspective of what was shared, the powers that be, that which resist. But it's not because it's demonic or because it somehow has a malevolent intention, because it's a natural result. This is like an energy, it's unknown, and naturally it resists. It's too light, I can't take it. And the light says, this is too dense, I can take it. So it's a mutualization. That's the term they're giving me, the mutualization of unity, all angles of creation, and that's true union. That's the greatest blessing of spirit that was ever into matter. And it's an experiment. It was done many times before, and it can reach such high levels of degrees of embodiment, because, as you know, our civilizations kept on rising and falling because of our stupidity and ego and the power plays that be. Right? Because the force of the will was stronger than the force of spirit, as the sacred fire within. So those of us who come here with this mission, we are born with this. We have a pure knowing how this is supposed to be. So when there was this concept used, right, that these two beings can coexist together on a deserted island and just be fine with each other, means that the powerhouse couples, right, the ones who embody spirit union, Illumined Union, don't necessarily need to go out into the world, teach certain words, give information, do workshops. The strongest element is their embodiment, that they do this work energetically. They have to meet all aspects of themselves first, all levels of density, all layers of union through the descent into matter, so that the spirit and matter can harmoniously be as one. There is no illumination without this light and shadow meeting. We do that within. Our bodies are the place, the sacred playground where this takes place. So when this is done, like I said, each one of them has to create this space when this density and this kind of like resistance will suddenly, it will soften. This is a space of heart softening. It just softens because there has been an embracing of all. So the more we resist even our circumstances, you know how many times I've shared with you the density of the place I live in, but it was all pre-chosen. My soul has said, I need to master this as quickly and as soon as I can. So I have to meet the lowest, the lowest conditions possible. That's what I choose for me to rise up through that. That's my mission as a lumen being. And there's many times you will doubt this, because it's very healthy to put yourself under question mark. That's what any wise person will do. People who follow up with anything they wish to be and where they want to be without any questioning and contemplation, they're very much setting themselves again for a fall, because it eventually can lead even to mental illness and fanaticism and all these projections that become very much pathological behaviors within us. It's a very psychological development as much as it's the incarnation of light into matter. It's also a psychological process, because we do have, as you know, we're very much into the mind. Our mind has been a very strong companion of this journey. So it's very important for us to observe ourselves, our thoughts, everything that arises, our feelings. So this level of union, what they're showing me, creates such a powerful alchemical transformation, transmutation, which again, like I said, it rips up this, it pushes up this spiral of transfiguration. Sorry, sometimes I don't find the perfect word, so I talk too fast because I receive fast. But this is, I'm going to show you, this is the drawing they show me. So when each of them does this work on their own, this loosening, this easing of energy, then they can feel, when each of them does this separately, they can come together because that's what they've agreed to do. This is not, oh, we're cursed, it doesn't happen, how long, how many years I have to wait. Even though you feel you're in this journey, you can't control this. The divine knows best. When we project our ideas, beliefs, and wishes, push it through our will, again, eventually they will ripple back, and we might manifest what we believe we need, but many times it will hit us, slap us back in the face, because it's not truly what our soul has preset as perfect conditions for that journey of descent of the light to be ripe and right. So this is the picture, right? This is the drawing, as you can see. So these are the two beings, feminine, masculine. Yeah. So sorry about this smudge. These colors, right? These oil pastels are very smudgy. So these beings, right? These powerhouses. Sorry, the light kind of doesn't shine well on this. So their light, right, moves through their three main portals, which is the crown, the heart, and the root. And when this light can be embodied, right, it becomes the crystalline embodiment of the living life force, this light quotient gathering, which I've been talking about. So there's illumination from the crown, the heart, and here illumination is more experienced as the full anchoring of this light into form. So you see, through this darkness here, through these energy, there's a natural resistance of this energy. At the same time, the light descends. So there's a meeting space, and together, when they do their own inner life force mastery work, they each project or create, their own spiral, right, through their cords, which are deeply anchored, which means they're anchoring it at a very wide level or area of their manifest reality. We all say, well, this is union. Like I said, it's a different reality scope where you function as a soul being. If you're if your mission is encompassing a much broader experiment that you came here to work with, your embodiment of union will, from the perspective of the human experience, will look like it's more intense or lasts longer, although there is no time. But it's because it's wider. It encompasses many more things. It's so wide, like it was in that reading, it was shared that just being together, they're just seeding that, and they're already affecting the whole. They're already affecting just with their illumination. And this is what I receive myself always. This is the strongest powerhouse energy, just being together and being in this presence when they did this work. So the energy naturally resists this. It moves upwards. And in the process of resistance, when you simply embrace that there's this resistance and that it's not based on duality, but just a natural vibrational law, a tendency, right, in matter, it's like it moves upwards. It's like it's illuminating it. So these spirals then move up, and they create like this powerhouse of energy. This is what they're calling it. This is the pillar of light. This is not the pillar of light that we all kind of, that's the spirit overlighting us. But this is what I call the creation pillar mission. That's my mission, is the mission where you consciously create. It's like you arise like a phoenix from the ashes, this pillar from the foundational level, the physical. So they are both rising this, right? They're doing this together. Doesn't have, it's like in the first level, they can be together physically because they do need to do this preparatory work. This is not the kind of preparatory work, oh, I need to prepare physically and do this and do these errands before someone enters my life. No. I know this is important as humans and most of us, but it's not the kind of work I'm talking about here. So when they're able to do that, one more thing that the reading was saying was like, first you were like trying, right? You were fighting for this union to happen and to be there, and all your energy went into maintaining this, that it's moving in this direction. And then the next step, when there's this union meeting at the peak, is like you are going to, what it was said, something beautiful, now you're going to work on maintaining that, the togetherness. And of course, this naturally doesn't mean, oh, now we do this, we come together, somehow it happens because it's time and we did this easing work. We did this, it's almost like absorption of love, absorption into love. We did this alchemical work within, and it somehow emanated into all that's without. It's within, so without. But it's also, I don't know how sometimes I can't find the right words. But it's not like, oh, now it's just going to be, life is going to be easy. There are always going to be challenges, because as long as you're here, as the descent of the light, your mission is here, which means it's never going to be easy. But there's going to be different levels of the mission you enter when you're able to create this, right? Also, so there was a reason I turned it around somehow. I'm sorry. So there's another one I actually drew. This one shows this more at the micro level. So it's like the inner womb, and there's like this, again, this transformation journey, and you see these different bubbles of energy, of light. So there's pink ones, then there's purple ones or violet ones, there's illumined ones, the golden ones here, and then there's the gray ones here. This is the dissolution journey. This is all that's dissolving through the descent of this light. It's a very similar but a more micro picture of what's happening, and this happens at the core level. The core is the heart, but the heart has to descend into the pillar foundation to the root level. This is where the true descent of the light, this is where illumination takes place. It has to take place on all three levels. So people who talk about twin flames only from this perspective, as in this, you know, idea, vision of the divine they have, but true Illumined Union takes place on all these three. So I've explained this in my content throughout the years quite properly, and each time it goes a little deeper. But as a part of this growth and this journey and the question, whether are we truly illumined, like I said, there's very important part of this is this self-analysis, self-questioning. It's not the same as self-doubt, like now you doubt in yourself. You have to know you're in this path, but you have to question the ideas of where your mind will sometimes project a wishful thinking of where you want to be instead of where you are. So there's 4 stages. I remember we read once that Osho, he talked about 4 stages of human projection of themselves, their experience of themselves in this projected reality. So one was, number 1 was, I don't know that I know. So you're completely in non-awareness. You're not aware of anything, right? You're a sleeping being. Second one was, I don't know that I don't know. So there's a lot of people here in this level who believe they know, but they don't know that they actually don't know. So a lot of their reality is pure fiction, it's projection. The third level is, I don't know that I actually do know, right? So it's like, no, sorry. I know, sorry. The third one is, I know that I don't know. That was the first one I said before. But the third one is, I know that I don't know. So this is when you get really humbled and you don't get, you know, you get away from that ideology, indoctrination, and you're really starting to become a seeker of truth, of higher truth. A lot of the New Age people, New Age folks, because they're so into these concepts and ideas, but they're not embodied, they're not grounded, are at the second stage. They actually don't know that they don't know, but they believe, and they project a lot of these beliefs into a false ideology. So the last stage is, I know that I know. And this is the I am embodiment. This is the I know myself at the core level, and I bring that to fruition in the sense of the physical, because the physical is the playground where our biggest growth of the soul occurs. You don't do that growth when you transcend and transpire to another level of density unless you really do it here. If you don't, you're always going to seek utilization of that further and further on until you really get it just right. And that's the refinement of soul. And that's all great. It's how it transpires through all these stages. So for the work of the questioning of whether we're truly illumined or not, it's so important, because I see so many people projecting an idea of self-enlightenment, self-entitlement, and self-aggrandizement at the expense of not knowing that they don't know. And the energy, what they're showing me now, is a lot of the illusions of the New Age are coming to the forefront, because these people that projected the inner light on the external realms, believing they're here to save, heal, rescue others, that they're these figures, they're here for a special mission, they're chosen ones, somehow they're, you know, and then you go on Facebook and there's people praising these people, and they're yammering about their experiences. They're projecting a lot of their unhealed emotions into the collective, where, you know, if you're truly a wise person and you're a being who does inner integration, you won't take your inner work to social media. That's not what an illumined being does. I'm not judging it. This is not a call of judgment, but it's simply a call to question and maybe to question even if there's beings who you idolize, who you say they're so illumined, so enlightened, instead of doing that work within. Because remember what Jesus said, ye are all gods, which meant we are all divine, and you're going to do the same things I did and more, because life is evolving. We're not there where we were, I don't know, 2,000 years ago or more. Life is evolving, and whether you're evolving yourself and you're not staying the same within a fixed ideology and belief, you have to do the work. You don't take your problems, you don't take your emotional things on the stage like social media. I see a lot of these people who are very famous. I had them on Facebook, and Facebook shows me these things and posts, and I'm like, these people are supposed to be enlightened? And then I read this, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not a projection of a wise person. It's like when you're wise, you'll take everything from the external and you kind of like gather it and you compile it within, and you work with synthesis, and you use all your power, stamina of growth, all your inner life force resources to move your alchemy within. You don't use your energy unwisely to project. And a lot of these people are just seeking attention from others, and it's not enlightened. So I'm not saying we have to spend our time in the caves. This is not healthy. This, again, is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that the journey of self-integration, to know yourself wholly, it doesn't involve these, it's like people jibber jabber, and it's like until you still have this need to always chitter chatter, jibber jabber about everything, and to constantly share yourself, like all your experiences, that's for you. Whenever I share something with you, it's the crystallized wisdom that comes from those experiences. And that's why I can no longer promise, oh, I'm going to do this video then or there. I don't know. I do it when, from all that I go through, I make a compilation of something, and then I put it and I share it. And it might assist someone on this journey. It might catalyze someone else's journey. It might bring a spark of illumination to someone. It doesn't really matter, and it's not my concern. So when you're a humble being, you don't deal with these things, whether, oh, am I being helpful? Am I being right? Am I helping? Am I healing? You know, am I having this position? I've talked to you about this in the January's update. This humility, this humbling down of yourself, to know yourself as you have not known yourself before. Like in my journey now, I'm noticing this pure benevolence coming through. It's this, you know, in the past, I used to do a lot of things and then I get satisfaction from it, like I'm a good worker bee. And now I do things sometimes still the same way, and I don't feel that excitement anymore. It doesn't bring me that, oh yeah, I completed that check. I emotionally feel good and restful now. No, I don't find harmony and resolution or well-being in that anymore. I simply see and notice where there's still something that's kind of like ailment, or how to call it. It's still not me acting out as my highest self. And it's quite a journey to embody for me, this high energy self, this multidimensional being, in this what is the personality that's becoming less and less of what it used to be, and yet it's still there, and yet it's not there as it used to be. So it's kind of a mix and match, and it's difficult because sometimes you don't know where you are, how you are, and that's good. Because people who have a very established idea, this is me, and it's actually an idea of themselves, that's not the same as enlightenment. The enlightenment journey will lead you to a point where you will be completely blank and you will question yourself. But it's not a doubtful questioning. It's a questioning of putting everything under question, all your beliefs, all the ideologies, even the twin flame thing has to be put under big question mark if you truly wish to come from a perspective of unity, true unity. So I have a few advice messages for you. They're not messages, they're links. They're actually titles of lectures I've listened from Manly P. Hall. What an amazing being. I have wanted to listen to his lectures for so long, but I was so busy I couldn't find the time. Now I finally, because I did some things, put his lectures on my iPad. I couldn't stop. I was like absorbing it all. He was such a well-composed, structured, synthesized, wise being, so full of, you know, even when you listen to him talk, the way he speaks, it doesn't make a mistake. He's just like fluent. Born speaker, born knower, and only a knower can do that, can speak this way. So these are the videos I've watched. I highly recommend them. The most influential in the fact of, you know, whether we're truly illumined or whether we're projecting the idea of where we are, he addresses this topic. It was exactly the day when I woke up with this feeling of, this is all so mixed up. People are so much projecting this idea of being healers and this, and why aren't they not doing their inner work? What are they actually moving away from? What are they fearing? What are they not willing to confront and just do their stuff and meet themselves within, not in the social media framework. And this was the video that actually addressed a lot of these, well, most of these issues. I think it was this one, the invisible entities and secret powers. I think it was this one, because it talked about how much we project. It talked about this projection and also about mental illness and all these things. Then I watched also Secret Teachings of All Ages. I watched The Secret Powers and Why We Should Not Use Them. I think that's the same one as The Invisible Entities and Secret Powers, but it has different videos, different name titles. A wonderful one about this journey also is Etheric Alchemy, Transformation of Self. You have to watch this one. It's the most beautiful description of alchemy. Same as Spirit has always been showing it to me, but he put it in words superbly. So superb. Then it's Atlantis and the Gods of Antiquity. What is the true meaning of Atlantis? Not as a place, as an unfoldment, as an evolutionary continuation, right? Then demonism, demonic, demonism, I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry, in the 20th century, and it also includes black magic and witchcraft. And then it's the value of astrology and self-analysis, also superb. And I love this one, the last one, making the best possible use of time. And this is what I want to complete with. Why are so many people who are supposed to be figures of self-establishment, which what they project, the idea of what they are, but they're spending so much time on social media, always basically projecting, and it's like, you know, this is me, embrace me who I am, this is me, I'm just going through the journey. Yes, okay, we're all embraced. We don't have to put ourselves out on a bell, or how it's called. I know there's a proverb or something. You put yourself out there all the time. It's like, share yourself, but you don't have to share every single detail, because you're using and losing your life force. A true artisan of life, one who works with the refinement of their soul, will know, like I said before, when to contemplate, when to withdraw their life force, when to share. And the sharing happens at the illumined level, when there's something within you that crystallized. It's a spark that's divinely inspired. It's not viewed and pushed to your ego. And because a lot of these people I see, they're supposed to be teachers, but they're actually draining. They're taking energy from other people because they're so wounded within. So they're actually attention seekers. And the projection is, I'm the teacher, but behind it, it's this wounded inner child that hasn't done the work. That's why I'm always focused on my work. It has to be a priority. This is the fact. You don't become a teacher without this work. And the teacher primarily has to teach their own selves. We are our own teachers first. Whatever kind of teaching happens outside of this, the consequence of that, not a reason for our being here. It's a natural affinity of life. When you become the essence of the embodiment of the great teacher, the great one, like these beings were. It's all happening naturally. It's like it's not self-proclaimed, it's self-evident. Right? It's voluntary. It's like voluntary. It's just unfolding beautifully. So that's my main message for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And please, you know, it's very important when you come to this stage, when you somehow feel like it's all dissolving, it's a blank slate, welcome it. Because this is usually, it indicates this dissolution energy. You're at that level. And we're not going to call that, oh, it's the final level before union. Well, everyone wants to have the final or the final before the final. Embrace every wave and don't pretend you're in the knowing of, yeah, this will be so, and then I have that. Allow yourself to be in the magic and the awe, the mysticism of life, the greatness of life. That's the only way to truly welcome illumination. And how the great Manly Hall said, we don't pray for wishes, desires to come true in that way. We pray for illumination. We pray for enlightenment. I think Buddha said that, but he just really emphasized that. And I can't emphasize that well enough myself. So again, I'm going to show you the drawings. This is the true Illumined Union mission purpose, and when it happens at the micro level. You can see all these pictures. I post them on my Instagram. On my Patreon page, I do a monthly channel drawing for our embodiment process. It's a deeper process. I also have other things there. I'm going to be doing more videos there. I especially really want to focus on these messages to anchor us in this feeling of love, because it's when you're in this not romanticized idea of love, but this beautiful, soft, it's like when you're committed and devoted on all levels, and it's the soft messages of love, they're actually moving us through, and they're softening our presence here because we're not always working with the easiest of energies and tasks to deal with. So it's what has to be done. And we need that love and encouragement. So I want to do more beloved messages there. I have one that's for the whole year. You can also get my Cosmic Beloved course to assist you in the self-integration journey, as well as the soul embodiment through divine union. These two are very much related to that, as well as the Avatars of Illumined Union audio. And I think that's it. Again, this was not a judgment call. I know everyone is where they are, but when you're in a conscious journey, I simply want to show you that watch for these things when they play out within you, when you're doing that, and also observe them when, like I said, maybe you idolize beings and teachers, but you're so blind that you can't see their own blind spots, because they all have them, right? If they haven't done this work of healing, like nowadays, I think something came up for this well-acclaimed healer. I don't know the name, very famous one, and it's supposed to be trafficking in, I don't know, something like children, selling children, or something very dirty, and we are like, ew. The moment we see something like that, we're like, oh, first we have to bombard that and judge that. Well, you don't have to judge that. It's one person's experience. That was a non-integrated person, and they're only showing to people. When you go to a healing to such a person, you're not integrated yourself because you have blind spots and they led you to them. And now we all want to do judgment, right, on those beings who suddenly show up as not what we thought of them to be. And this can only pinpoint our own disillusionment. It has to show us the way. What is that true faith of that righteousness within, instead of being self-righteous and judging? It's like finding the elements. And the moment you do meet that aspect, see it in front of your face. Ooh, I still judge. Okay, yes. Oh, I've accepted, I've admitted. Oh, then I'm just breathing it in. And there's a softening of the heart already happening. The heart is already opening. Do that, and you will have immense rewards of the inner nature. All of our true accolades here are not external. We don't do that for self-gratification. I know I don't do that. I don't care if one person listens to me or 1,000 or no one. I know I have to do this for me. This is my journey. This is what I have to complete. It's my assignment. If I don't do it, I come back. So anyway, guys, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. I hope I see you on Patreon. I hope you will eventually join my team of light there. I really hope the network to grow, because I do wish to bring more readings and channel messages there. I want to do more channeling, because when we sit down and do meditations and channeling, it's such a direct connection. I get all answers instantly. I want to offer that as well, but I really want to have a bigger, wider group there, people. So we have 3 levels. I think it's affordable at any level you can join. So that's how I made it. So it's not just for one, right? So you have many different choices and options. And the last thing I want to say is I made this beautiful Divine Mother Mary. It has a pink rose inside, and aquamarine crystals. And I basically received this vision just before New Year, and I was contemplating and pondering for so long. It had to crystallize until it'd be just right, because I wanted to be, I did Magdalene's before, I think it was a year ago, and then I really felt this is the Divine Mother. This is that absolute love, that complete embracing of all, and it just came through this necklace. And like I said, it was a vision that needed to crystallize in divine timing, and I only made 3. So it's the triple goddess, right? The trinity of the goddess that came through. One for me. I gave one to mom and one to someone who asked me first, because I wore it on the Illumined Messages video on Patreon. So I just wanted to show you. Whenever I wear it, I just feel amazing. It was channeled through the most intense resurrection metamorphosis experience I experienced recently. So it was a labor and devotion of love. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Hopefully on Patreon as well. Join me, and many blessings of the light of illumination.
Welcome into my world, the world of the elven song, magical.